Welcome to Understandable Insights, Information to Intelligence with Sue Gordon. It's September 1st, 2025. Let's get to our bonus. It's been a busy past couple weeks in terms of people losing their jobs within the federal government. Just some of them include the 37 intelligence officials that had their security clearances stripped, Susan Monterez fired as the director of the CDC, Lisa Cook under assault as Fed governor, and Rear Admiral Milton Sands from Navy Special Warfare, Vice Admiral Nancy LaCour, head of Navy Reserves, and DIA Director Jeff Cruz. 7 employees at EPA for dissent and 180 people at FEMA on admin leave for a letter. Sue, what do you make of all these federal employees being fired?
I'm just going to say the human toll also just weighs on me. The cruelty and the rhetoric around just humans that are doing a job. I mean, let's think Susan Monterez, who was just confirmed in this position, and then now
Like a month ago, right? Jeez.
she's being besmirched, or the 37 intelligence officials who have had their security clearances stripped. And make no mistake, they all lose their jobs. And then with the description around it, tacitly accusing of some sort of illegal behavior, challenges things in the future. So I'll get on to the effect on the American people, but I'll also tell you just the human piece is just really ridiculous and hurts me, not just because I know many of these humans, but America. I'm just going to tell you, these are people who really just signed up to serve. And then to have this happen is really difficult. And I think it's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of individuals pushing back even when it happens to them, because it's hard to figure out how to respond without hurting the country you love. Right. And so it's a really unfair fight when you do it publicly to these people. On the damaging side, boy, I try not to be an alarmist, but the combination of really confusing policies and really crazy things that are going on in terms of eliminating budgets and cutting the federal workforce, I think has real potential to harm everyday Americans, whether that is the services they get from Social Security, their health, because we're not going to get warnings of disease events or all the way up to national security. Somewhere during the Trump administration, and the estimates are crazy, between 150,000 and 300,000 federal employees have left. And it's largely, here's the deal. I get it. You think it's a huge number. It's like 12% of the overall federal workforce, and you may believe that it's too big. My problem is, even if you think it's too big, none of this is planned, right? The people who are leading are not saying, I know what we need to be for the future. And you need to look no further than the number of probationary employees, people who had just joined that are being let go. That's eating our seed corn. I've been through government shutdowns and hirings before. You leave yourself with decades of weakness. My heart breaks for the individuals who are publicly being excoriated over what appear to be flimsy reasons publicly when they were nothing but servants. But I'll just say, if we don't understand that this hollowing out of the services without, as you and I talk about, a different decision about how we're going to provide those services to America is really going to be felt. So it's a bad trend.
Yeah, I think what's real bullshit is that one of those names on the 37 of the revoked classifications was an undercover operative, right? And so it reminds me of Secretary of Defense Hegseth with the Signal releasing some of that sensitive information open source. If I'm an F-18 pilot or I'm one of the pilots operating that mission, and now I know that my mission is potentially compromised because of this careless control of classified information. Same thing with an undercover operative. If I'm not confident that my country has my back and they're going to protect my identity, why am I going to put myself out there and try to do that job for the nation?
I'm just going to say, from your favorite ex-intelligence officer, this is a great adversarial campaign, right? To basically plant stories or shape people or influence people to do this action is a great influence campaign. I just saw yesterday that Laura Loomer came out with just a ridiculous post suggesting that the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency was somehow a political tool because they were having their senator, ranking member of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, come out for a fireside chat, as though that was evidence that people at the NGA were anti-Trump. What don't you understand about oversight and representation? But like I said, it would be a great influence campaign to just seed stories in people who were susceptible to believe the worst. America, wake up. I love making government more efficient. I don't think our institutions are yet as well prepared for the future as they need to be. But this strategy of using people, tossing people out on a whim, and indiscriminate cutting is unlikely to serve America. And at the end of the day, that's really what I care about.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned too is the aggregation of it all, right? The cumulative effect, because you look at each of these individually and you might be able to squint at it and say, "Well, okay, I
Yeah.
can kind of see some of these or cutting down this office or this budget." But when it's all compiled, you're losing a lot of capability.
Yeah. And we haven't even gone down the rabbit hole. You talk about putting on your tinfoil hat, the Fed governor and the use of mortgage data. That's a great example of one of the reasons why we have rules about how we don't just indiscriminately make all data available to anybody, because it is really easy for people to put together cases that may or may not be true. So it's a brave new world. We need to pay attention. Again, it matters who you send to Washington.
That's right. Let's get some oversight here. Speak up. Well, that's what we're watching. Thank you for joining us, and no doubt there's more to come. This country's strength isn't in its power, industry, or government. It's in its people.
So thanks for joining us this week. Remember, we're here for you. Look for a link in the show notes to provide us feedback or suggest topics for the next time. And please join us next week for the Understandable Insights podcast, wherever you go to listen. And remember, go forth, do good, and be kind to one another.